So there are a lot of perfume notes that are used in the perfumery industry, and some are more popular than others. So in this video I'm going to go through the top 10 most popular fragrance notes. And of course, popularity for these notes change throughout the years. The number one that I'm starting with is Musk. And Musk is still popular, but it used to be way more popular in the past, especially in the 1920s, 1940s, and 1970s, and 1980s. All very popular with musks. Musk is a little bit toned down currently in the perfume industry, but still one of the most popular notes out there, mainly as a base note, because it really helps ground, like if there's a sweet perfume, kind of sugary notes of vanilla or florals or fruits, musk will ground that perfume so it won't be too overwhelming, too much of one note. It really is kind of the scale that balances out the perfume. Musk used to be taken from the glands of the Tibetan musk deer. That is no longer the case because that particular deer is endangered. Instead, most musk is synthetic, but it still pretty much smells very animalistic, very true to the original form. So, second very popular note that you will find in a lot of perfumes is Tonka Bean. Tonka Bean is a very unique note because it's kind of like a raisin, kind of dark and fruity, but also nutty and earthy. It's like a bit of everything, but definitely commonly a base note kind of ingredient. It also has some like almond notes, some, nuttiness, earthiness, and like dark fruits like raisins and plums and things like that. So very good as a base note because, again, like the musk, it really grounds whatever the perfume is. It'll ground it, it'll balance it out, and add a nice little extra personality to the fragrance. So another very popular one is sandalwood. Sandalwood, there are several types of sandalwood, but a popular example of perfume that uses this note is Chanel No. 5. Has a very powerful, very delicious woodsy sandalwood note. Real sandalwood isn't usually used anymore because it also is endangered. So we use synthetic alternatives, which still smell very realistic, and it's a really smooth, almost nutty, sort of earthy wood note. And it has a certain dryness that, again, these notes are great for the base notes because they balance the perfume. They make sure it's not too sweet, too high, or sharp. So just really nice. It's very commonly used, almost like 50% of the time. If you look up the notes in a perfume, there's going to be sandalwood somewhere in it. So the next one is amber. Amber is an interesting note. Amber obviously comes from very, very old tree sap, fossilized tree sap. Amber is this naturally very woody, sticky, resinous, warm note. Also found in base notes a lot of the time. Shalimar by Ylang is a common example of a very ambery, amber-forward note. And I very much like amber perfumes. They're very, they have that warmth. And it's sometimes, if the amber is very light, it will still add a certain smoothness to the perfume in question. So another one, which is especially popular currently, is, and pretty much always, vanilla. So there's a few different types of vanilla that are used in perfumes. There's Madagascar vanilla, bourbon vanilla, sometimes there's a sugary sweet sort of vanilla, dry kind of toasty vanilla. So it really kind of depends on what the vanilla smells like, on what type it is. Because if you're going for an oriental fragrance, the vanilla is probably not going to smell very sweet. It might smell more toasty, spicy, that sort of thing, warm, versus, say, a more modern perfume, which is probably going to be more of a sugary, sweet vanilla. But vanilla in general is a very nice note. You can find it in either the base notes or the middle notes, not very often the top notes because it is a warmer scent, so it kind of cuts through the top notes and evens everything out. So the next one is patchouli. Patchouli is an herb, green herb, kind of bushy, that is also found in the base notes a lot of times, sometimes the middle notes. It's generally kind of earthy, herbal, green, and it has a nice warm kind of aura that grounds the perfume. And I believe it grows a lot in India, so it does kind of have an exotic kind of feel. This is another very, very popular ingredient. If you look at a lot of, perfumes, most of the time there's going to be patchouli hidden somewhere in there. It's a very popular note. And then there's orange blossom. I love orange blossom. It's a very sweet flower, but not sugary, because it's just that natural floral sweetness, which is very pleasant, with that little hint of, citrus. And it's light. It reminds you of spring or summer. It's just, very feminine, and surprisingly potent. If you've ever been anywhere near an orange blossom, you could smell it 3 blocks away. It's very, very potent. So that's always pleasant to have in a perfume. And it also lightens up heavier notes. If you have like really heavy musky notes, orange blossom will lighten that up. There's also lily of the valley, which is another flower, floral note. Similarly light, slightly sweet, very feminine. This is often found in middle notes of fragrances and sometimes the top notes, but more often the middle notes. It's like a nice kind of in the middle of the fragrance sandwich, some nice substance for the perfume. Then Ylang Ylang. Ylang Ylang is another one of my favorite perfume notes. It's an interesting floral because it's not your typical floral. It's not super feminine or super light or super sweet. It's more of a mix of slight earthiness, warmth, exotic, slight exotic sweetness, and just this overall, not your typical floral. And it adds a really nice kind of earthy floral nature to a lot of fragrances. A lot of Middle Eastern fragrances use Ylang Ylang, as well as fragrances that are inspired off of the East, like India, things like that. Then there's jasmine. Jasmine is similar in that it's not a super fresh floral, it's more of a warm, earthy floral. A lot of jasmine is synthesized in laboratories, but even the lab-made stuff is still very authentic to real jasmine. And then the last note that I have here is rose. Pretty much everyone likes rose, I think, because rose is a hard note to dislike. It's very surprisingly potent for floral note, fresh, a slight warmth to it, and there are different types of roses as well. There's like Bulgarian rose, May rose, so it'll smell different. Some are sweeter, some are colder, some are, depending on what type you're smelling. But rose in general is a very pleasant note to have, can be found in the top notes or the middle notes. And you can't go wrong with rose, really, unless you hate it for some reason, but that's a rarity. So those are my top 10, that's my the list of fragrance notes that I think are pretty popular. You'll find most of these notes in the majority of perfumes, both old and new. If you have any opinions about fragrance notes, you can leave them down in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.